22nd, 1963, almost 50 years ago.
From Dallas, Texas, the flash, apparently official, President Kennedy died at 1 p.m. Central Standard Time, 2 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, some 38 minutes ago.
What if Kennedy survived that assassination attempt? U of O grad and journalist Bryce Zabel explores that question in his new book, Surrounded by Enemies. What if Kennedy survived Dallas? We are talking with him via Skype.
Well, I've had this idea for almost a decade. It just seemed to me that there was a steady drip of revelation about JFK's personal life and even his sexual life that had come out over 40 years that would probably have taken his administration down if it had been revealed while he was in office. So I started working on it, and it just felt like it was the story, the what if story people really wanted to be told, and they wanted it to be told well. So I dedicated myself to trying to do that.
So let's say he did survive Dallas. What would that look like? Somebody
would have just tried to execute the nation's chief executive on a public street in broad daylight. And so I don't think things could ever have pinged right back to normal. And in my telling, it leads to a constitutional crisis.
Well, what kind of constitutional crisis? Impeachment over the other women?
If John Kennedy's personal indiscretions had become public knowledge, say in 1965, as they do in my book, that would have led to calls for his impeachment. And it would have been a political crisis first and potentially a constitutional crisis. And that's kind of where the book lives, because I like to think that this book is in the tone of All the President's Men, if you will, but from this alternative world where John Kennedy survived assassination, but then had to face the political reality of the new situation that faced him.
Well, would you describe yourself as a Kennedy fan?
Like most Americans who grew up during a time when John Kennedy was alive, I loved the man. I thought he had tremendous style and was just an inspiration for not only our country but for the entire world. So I've not written Surrounded by Enemies as a hit piece on the Kennedy legend by any means. I've written it as a lifelong Democrat and a journalist who has realized that John Kennedy was living a headline away from disaster, and find that that's an empowering way to discuss the Kennedy influence on America as we enter this 50th anniversary period, because it allows us to see it through this book in a way that is wholly different from the other 5,000 books that have been written about John Kennedy.
Thank you, Bryce. Bryce Zabel, author of Surrounded by Enemies, What If Kennedy Survived Dallas? You can find it at surroundedbyenemies.com.